War destroys cities, it destroys nations. But sometimes, the worst thing it destroys is family. During one of the bloodiest battles of World War II, a young soldier was ordered to retreat, but he refused, because lying in the snow behind him was his dead brother, and no matter what happened next, he swore he would bring him home. The two brothers had enlisted together at the start of the war. Like thousands of young men, they believed they were protecting their country. They believed the war would end quickly. They were wrong. Months turned into years. The brothers survived artillery fire, machine gun fire, starvation, and freezing winters. Every single day, soldiers around them disappeared. Some were blown apart instantly. Others screamed for medics that never came. But somehow, the brothers survived together, and in war, that bond became stronger than anything else. Before every battle, they made the same promise to each other. If one of us dies, the other brings him home. Then came the battle that changed everything. The sky was black with smoke. Explosions shook the earth non-stop. Bodies covered the frozen ground. Soldiers could barely hear commands anymore, because the artillery was so loud. The brothers were trapped inside a ruined forest. Trees exploded into splinters around them. Machine gun fire ripped through the snow. Men screamed in every direction. Then it happened. A shell exploded nearby. The younger brother was hit instantly. The soldier turned and saw his brother collapse into the snow, not moving, not breathing, dead. For a moment, everything around him went silent. No gunfire, no explosions, nothing. Just his brother lying there in the freezing snow. Then officers began screaming for retreat. Anyone left behind would die, but the soldier refused to move. He ran back toward his brother, while bullets ripped through the trees around him. Other soldiers screamed at him to turn back, but he ignored every single one of them. All he could see was his brother lying alone in the snow. The soldier dropped beside the body. His hands were shaking. Snow covered his brother's face. His eyes stared blankly into the sky. For a moment, the soldier couldn't breathe. Then another explosion hit nearby. The ground shook violently. Snow and dirt rained down around them. And suddenly, he remembered the promise. If one of us dies, the other brings him home. The soldier wiped the snow from his brother's face, then slowly lifted the body onto his shoulders. The weight nearly pulled him into the snow. His brother's gear was soaked and frozen, but somehow, he stood back up. Around him, the battle was collapsing. Soldiers were retreating through smoke and fire. Machine gun rounds snapped through the forest. Trees exploded apart beside him, but the soldier began walking anyway, one step at a time, carrying his dead brother through hell. The journey became torture. Every step felt heavier than the last. His brother's body dragged against his shoulders. The freezing wind cut through his uniform like knives. Snow soaked through his boots. His legs trembled with exhaustion, but he kept walking. Behind him, the battlefield burned. Explosions lit up the dark forest like lightning. Machine gun fire echoed through the trees. Retreating soldiers rushed past him in panic. Some stared at him in disbelief. Others shouted at him to leave the body behind. But the soldier refused. The promise was all he had left now. Hour after hour, he dragged himself through snow and smoke. Sometimes he slipped and collapsed into the frozen mud. Each time, he forced himself back up again. His hands were numb. His shoulders were bleeding beneath the weight. At one point, another soldier tried to help carry the body. But he shook his head. No, the word barely came out, but he meant it. This was his brother, and he would carry him himself. The snowstorm grew worse. Cold wind howled through the shattered trees. Bodies lay frozen beside the path behind him. Some looked like they had simply fallen asleep. Others were barely visible beneath the snow. But the soldier never stopped walking. One step, then another, and another, carrying his brother through the freezing darkness. By the final stretch, the soldier could barely feel his legs anymore. Every muscle in his body screamed in pain. His vision blurred from exhaustion. Snow covered both of them completely now. From a distance, they almost looked like ghosts moving through the storm. The battlefield behind him had gone quiet. No more shouting, no more gunfire nearby, only the sound of freezing wind and his heavy footsteps in the snow. Sometimes, he thought he heard his brother's voice beside him. Small memories began flooding into his mind. The two of them as children, fishing together in summer, laughing at stupid jokes before the war. Their mother crying the day they enlisted. Back then, they thought they were invincible. Now one of them was dead, and the other was barely still standing. At one point, the soldier collapsed to his knees again. His brother's body slipped partly into the snow. For a few seconds, he didn't move. The cold was winning. His body wanted to stay there forever, but then he looked down at his brother's frozen face, and somehow, he forced himself back up one last time, step by step, through the freezing darkness. He kept walking toward friendly lines. At last, through the snowstorm ahead, the soldier saw lights in the distance, friendly lines. He tried to move faster, but his body was failing completely now. Every breath burned in his chest. His knees shook beneath the weight. The frozen body on his shoulders felt impossibly heavy. Still, he refused to stop. As he stumbled closer, other soldiers finally spotted him through the storm. At first, they thought he was a ghost, a frozen figure walking alone through the darkness. Then they realized what he was carrying. Several soldiers ran toward him immediately. One of them shouted for a medic. Another tried to take the body from his shoulders. But the soldier wouldn't let go. Not yet. His frozen hands clung tightly to his brother's uniform. He had carried him this far. He wasn't letting go now. The soldiers guided him through the snow. Some stared at him in shock. Others said nothing at all, because nobody knew what to say. The exhausted soldier finally reached the safety of friendly lines. Slowly, he lowered his brother's body into the snow. For a moment, he just stared at him silently. Then, with barely enough strength left to speak, he whispered, "I promised I'd bring him home." And moments later, the soldier collapsed into the snow beside his brother. Years later, survivors of that battle still remembered the soldier, not because he killed enemies, not because he won medals, but because he refused to abandon his brother. In a war where millions became numbers, he remembered that every fallen soldier was someone's family, someone's son, someone's brother. Some veterans later said the image never left them. A lone figure, walking through a frozen battlefield, carrying his brother through the snow, even when his own body was breaking apart, even when death surrounded him on every side. He kept walking, because some promises are stronger than fear, stronger than exhaustion, even stronger than war itself. And somewhere beneath the frozen snow of World War II, that promise still echoes to this day.